You're ready.
My time's always later than yours. I could use my phone, not the computer. Okay. I'd like to call to order the Town of Crossfield agenda, regular council meeting Tuesday, April 4th, 2023 at 7:02 p.m. We'd like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the traditional territories of the Indigenous peoples of the Treaty 7 region and the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3. We respect the histories, languages, and cultures of the First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and all First Peoples of Canada whose presence continues to enrich our community. Okay, item 2.1, the agenda. Does anybody have any additions or deletions to the agenda? Okay, I have one addition under new business, item 5.8. And it will be proclamation for Green Shirt Day for April 7th. Can I get a motion? With the addendum.
Oh.
Yeah, I just wondered what he was talking. I make the motion that the April 4th, 2023 agenda be accepted as prepared with the addition.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, are there any item 3.1 minutes? Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? If not, can I get a motion?
I move that the minutes of the March 21st, 2023 regular council meeting be accepted as presented.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have a delegation, item 4.1, homes by creation. Go ahead, Meryl, are you up first?
Did you want me to give you just a,
Yeah, I
quick
think that
summary?
if you give us a summary and then we'll go to the presenters.
okay, thank you, Mayor Harris. Good evening, council. At the February 7th, 2023 council meeting, staff presented the Iron Landing Phase 5 subdivision report for council's consideration. Representatives from Creation Communities were not present at the meeting to discuss the application, the comments, nor was mapping or vision material provided. As a result, council tabled the application until such time that the developer was available to attend, address the comments received through the circulation process, and that mapping vision material could be provided. Staff has had recent discussions with the applicant, and the applicant has provided a response to the circulation comments, as well as provided mapping, visioning material for council's consideration. The newly submitted item, along with the staff report for Iron Landing 5 subdivision, is attached.
Thanks, Meryl.
No problem. Gobi, you might want to pull down the microphone. So, yeah.
Go ahead, Gobi.
So in response to some of the comments we received and specifically with respect to Town of Crossfield Recreation. Now we're not used to submitting a landscaping plan at the subdivision level. It's generally done when we go through the land use process. But nevertheless, what we did was we went ahead and we engaged a landscape planner. And so I'm going to address the comments which are specific under the Town of Crossfield Recreation. It says there are no pathways, parks and recreation area, community space leading to this town or school site or anything for the area. There are no opportunities for Crossfield Rockview citizens to recreate in that space so close to the tracks. Creation Communities is following, and our response was at the time, Creation Communities is following the approved DSP with a pathway and landscape. So what we've done is to actually bring that forth in a meaningful way with respect to some of these comments. We did provide some pictures, but to address some of these comments, it says that essentially, there are pathways leading to towns and schools. There are no pathways leading, which is not accurate. So what I'm going to request, Taryn, is to, Taryn's imposed phase 5B with the landscaping behind it, which kind of spells out clearly.
Further clarification to the pathways connecting to Castle Park, part of
Thank
phase
you.
5.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
So I'd like to draw your attention to the submission. And specifically to this picture, if you have it, it says the R3 land use, which kind of outlines the opportunity that we're providing. And I'm going to start off from the CP tracks and head west from there, assuming this is north and south. The CP essentially has a 30-meter right of way. Now there's an acoustical fence that's going to go right at that boundary. We call it sound attenuation acoustical fence to cut out the noise. And then we get into a municipal reserve that's approximately 33 foot, 32.28, 10 meters wide. And we'll show you what we're proposing in our design. And then further west of that, you've got the lane, and the lane and the municipal reserve are separated by a fence, which is a safety fence, but also low maintenance from the standpoint of when we have to push snow through there, it's not going to overburden the fence and the fence starts leaning over. So it's a low maintenance fence. And I'll go through that as well. And then, of course, you hit the detached garage in the house, leading all the way to McCaskill Drive. And keeping in mind, McCaskill is a collector, 4 lanes. So the dwellings along McCaskill are going to be quite similar to what you see at Vista crossing, Vista Drive. So that's the first slide I wanted to dwell on. The second one, essentially, now getting into, this is where the WLA Group Landscape Architect, they've got this design. I think that's also submitted. And essentially what this does is it kind of talks about the pathway running through there, the fauna and the different trees, the shrubs and the sod area with a paved pathway running right through it, which is approximately 10 meters wide, so 32.28 foot wide, with a pathway running through it, and separated from the lane by a chain link fence. The details, the fence between the lane and the MR, the details of the fence are up the top left corner, which is essentially, it's going to provide safety as well as low maintenance. And from when we look at it from a midterm to long-term standpoint, because the snow is going to come right through and it's not going to push the fence over a period of time. So there is the sound attenuation fence is, so we're spending there was a comment in here that it's the developer's trying to get a lot of density without really providing this landscaping, but we're going to be spending a lot of money building that sound attenuation fence, the pathway, the landscaping along within the 10-meter right of way and the pathway within it, and of course the fence that separates the lane from the MR. So I wanted to draw your attention to that and would love to answer questions that you may have. And I think there was a treatment. And this is kind of the north-south picture. When you go further on to west on McCaskill. So the idea there is it's a MR that separates 2 dwellings on either side. So we looked at it and we said, well, we need to have a different treatment of the fencing. There's the MR with the pathway that runs through it, and then you have the more of a chain link type of treatment. Because we're dealing with private property at that point in time, right to the edge. And then finally, I want to draw your attention to the one that Darren just distributed, which essentially makes it really clear how the McCaskill Park is connected to the MR. So there is your recreational connection from McCaskill, the baseball diamonds, etc. It's a direct connection onto the MR that is behind, right along McCaskill on the east side, between the railroad tracks as well as the property boundary.
Anything else?
No, I think that's what, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll open it up to questions then. If anyone has some questions for the developer. Councillor Gustafson, go ahead.
Through the chair. Thanks, guys, for coming here to address our concerns. I really only have one question, and it's on timing. When does that get completed? Is it after the last house gets sold and you turn it over? Like it's going to obviously be done before it gets turned over to the town, right? But when does it get completed? Because in all practical purposes, there's going to be some lots that aren't finished up, but there's going to be people that are living there that may or may not be able to enjoy that pathway that leads into McCaskill Park. So I guess, what is your timing on finishing the landscaping within, the phase development?
No, that's a great question. We're not going to wait till the last house sells. I think the timing is essentially once we have the land servicing completed, and then the homes get constructed once the lots are fully serviced and energized, the site gets energized, and then the home construction starts. So our intent is, subject to weather conditions, that we would undertake the sound attenuation fence and the landscaping as part of the land development program, not as part of the home building program, because the home building program is totally separate. Whether we sell lots to third-party builders or whether our internal builder builds out the homes, irrespective, there is a separation between the land division that we have and the home building division.
And that will run kind of in parallel timeline wise with your home building schedules.
That's right. And I mean, ideally, I think before any of the foundations are excavated and pouring is initiated, we'd have the MR landscaping fencing completed. Now, we have to be careful with respect to the safety fence that separates the back alley with the MR.
Mm-hmm.
Because this, when you get into construction activity, there's a lot of debris, garbage all over. Yeah, so that may be kind of the last one to go in. But the servicing program, including the landscaping program, is part of the land division. So it's not dependent on how many homes get constructed.
Okay, thank you. That answers my question. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions?
Mr. Chair.
Councillor Knight.
Thank you, Council Johnson. The sound attenuation fence, how tall is it?
It's 1.8 meters.
Second question, on the land use district, it shows 30 meters of that CP right away. Is that to the middle of the train or is that to the far side of where that goes? So is it that 30 meters that you've indicated on here for the right of way for CP from the municipal reserve in? Is that to the edge of the tracks or where is that? I guess it's going to be.
Well, it's a 30-meter right of way, as I understand, and the tracks generally are placed in the center.
That isn't the right way to the far side of the tracks, that'll be 90 feet then, give or take, to the edge of the tracks, more or less on this diagram.
Yeah, what you're gonna have there is you're gonna have from the back of the house, from the back of the garage, I guess. You're gonna have the back alley, which
Yep.
is 6 meters,
And then 10.
right? And then you've got the 10 meters.
Yep.
And then CP rail right away starts from there.
Yeah, so that right away is 90 feet or 30 meters from
Correct.
there to the track.
Correct.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it's to the tracks. If
Maybe.
the tracks are halfway, so you want to do simple math, subject to the width of the tracks and stuff like that, you're divided by 2. So it's not 90 meters, it'd be more like 38. 38, not 90 feet, but 38.
To the track.
It's 30 meters. 30 meters is about almost 100 feet.
Yep.
So
That right is-
3.28 is a multiple. So I essentially divide it by 2, and that would be the center of the tracks.
Okay, so you're going to the far side of the right of way
Correct.
across.
Yeah, the 30 meters is on, so 30 meters would be split.
So 15 meters is what it is.
On our- yeah,
15
yeah.
So 15, 10, and 6.
Yeah,
31 meters.
That's
total
right.
from the house.
Yeah.
Because it makes it, yeah. It seems like when you see that, if you were to read this report, 30 meters to the right way of the tracks, you would think that there's 100 feet from the back of the path to where the MR is on the backside, and that just isn't. I've walked the path, it's not possible. So, okay.
Good.
Yep.
Other questions? Counselor Brennan.
I was just curious. I know 1.8 meters is about 5'10". And is that is that a standard height for a sound attenuation fence that close to a train track?
I don't have the regulations in front of me, but I believe 1.8 meters is the minimum.
Minimum? Okay. And
Just for clarification on that, I think that there's a berm there too, is there not? And then the fence?
That's
So that makes it a little bit higher.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay.
And then the few questions asked about pathways and a number of design elements, wherein the answer was explained by reference to a detailed design. Is this the detailed design?
this is what we call a conceptual design,
Okay,
and this will move into a detailed design, which will be submitted to the town for approval.
so then that answers my next question then.
And just keep in mind as well, I think when you refer to the sound attenuation fence, there's going to be tree plantation within the 10-meter right of way, which is also going to help with diminishing some of the sound.
Right. Okay. Nothing further then.
I do, through the chair.
Go ahead.
Curiosity on your black fences, are they powder coated? So then they're not going to rust, and then operations going to have to go repaint them every few years?
And most of the fences we've installed, they last long term, so we haven't seen any rusting. So generally powder coated, and there are other materials as well that people are using these days.
Any other questions?
I do. How far are we going to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Ask your questions.
This question actually, Meryl, I'm not sure if you can answer this one. So this is under this sound. So it said that, okay, I'm just going to read that section. CP Rail will require this to be installed in the development side of the property line. A working area agreement will be entered into between the developer and CP Rail for construction of the sound attenuation fence. Once construction is complete, the agreement will transfer to be between the town and CP Rail to accommodate any future maintenance. Have you been in touch with CP Rail yet on what the contract would consist? Because speaking from experience, I know it's difficult sometimes working with CP Rail.
No, we have not made
Okay.
contact with CP Rail yet because the application hasn't
Okay.
been approved by council. So that will take place following, if council makes a decision on this application, then the process starts.
Okay.
But we did, just to back up a little bit, we did circulate CP Rail
Mhm.
So they are aware that this development is planned to take place. So that was initiated already, but they had no comments at this time.
Yeah, okay. Just thinking history, that's why I asked.
Anything else?
Oh, no, I do have another one here. I
Okay.
was trying to find it. Okay, instead of digging for it, I know what my question is. So it'd be a combination between you and Murray. So in the section where it's saying the width of the roads are they're the same width as the other one. So myself, and I know some of the other counselors previously, we had concerns on the roadways being too narrow for our operations department and for the fire department. So I'll ask Murray first. So if you've had to go down any of these narrow roads that they're putting in now to do any snow removal or with any equipment, like what, have you had any concerns on that or?
So yeah, the roads that are installed now, we can get by as long as there's no obstacles in the way. Even one obstacle such as a small vehicle eliminates us from doing that road. So just working together, we're able to do that. But the wider roads, the connector roads are a nice size. The internal roads have caused us grief.
That's where the issues are. So if we had an emergency in the middle of the night and everybody's home, there could be an issue with our emergency vehicles getting in.
I believe the emergency vehicles would have a challenging time, but I haven't tested any of that, so I shouldn't speak to that either. So
Okay. I'm sorry.
But
I would
just
have
the
directed it
size.
at the fire department, but I don't
Yeah.
have a rep here to ask.
knowing the size of their trucks, it will be a challenge.
Okay. I think that was it for me for now.
May I answer that?
Yeah, please.
Just to kind of put this in context, McCaskill is not a narrow road all the way. And neither is our road standards in Iron Landing are much wider compared to the new developments coming up. And it's a collector standard road, so you're looking at 4 lanes. And I don't perceive there should be any issue on a collector.
I'm just curious, what is the width of that road?
Gee, I can't.
Do you remember?
recall.
Do you remember, Meryl? And then while you're looking at it too, in comparison to some of the roads in, say, Old Town Crossfield.
Sorry. I have a team behind me helping me.
There should have been.
So
Mhm.
McCaskill is 15 meters
Yeah, that's quite a bit bigger than what they have over in the other.
and a residential road, I believe, is 9.
Yeah.
9 meters. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I think that probably isn't an issue. Yeah, yeah. Excellent. Anything else?
I have one more.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So there's already some concerns with the phase that's being built right now with water laying around and non-proper drainage. So are you going to concentrate on fixing all that before you go into the next phase?
That is going to get fixed because McCaskill isn't built to the proper standard right now. It was a temporary access road, which was desired by council at the time. And the previous developer went and constructed McCaskill because there was a lot of talk about access from Harrison, and people were talking about the high volume of traffic, and therefore McCaskill got created to deviate some of that traffic. And even when we went, we did not own this piece of land at the time, but we owned Hawks Landing, which has got phase 1 approved land use on it. And council also kind of directed us to try and channel your traffic over McCaskill. So long answer, but the answer to your question is yes, McCaskill is going to get all ripped up, and there's going to be a brand new proper spec standard road put in place. And so that ponding that you see at the bottom of McCaskill, that's going to disappear.
Okay.
And fairly quickly here. As we start initiate undergrounds, which we're anticipating to kick off early May. all things being equal.
Okay, which would be good because there was a lot of ice this last winter, which was a big concern for both vehicles and pedestrians.
Absolutely. Actually, Terry, we were there earlier on today and we took a bunch of pictures. So those are being sent
So we're
off
saying the engineer.
to the engineers to make sure that let's get rid of the water. Now,
Yeah. Pretty sure we're gonna get some fish in that lake at the bottom of the road there.
Pretty soon, yeah. I think I'm good now.
Okay, great. Just for clarification, and it's because I think I just don't know. The detailed design phase comes later. Can you tell me why it doesn't come up front? With all of the other information? Or why or can't it? Can we do it
Well,
that way?
Yeah, I think in most cases, at least in my experience over the last 35, 40 years in developing land, I mean, we do concepts that are put forth to the different municipalities. We get the okay, then we move forward and then get into the detailed design. Because there's no point getting into all this detailed design and then changing it because no, everything costs money.
Yeah, true.
It's a
So,
pretty standard practice with most developments.
but it could happen the other way if we wanted it to.
I suppose if the developer wanted to spend a whole bunch of money and take the risk, yeah.
Okay. Just curious.
Yeah.
As far as the ASP goes, I understand that this phase follows under this ASP, but in future phases, you guys were looking at creating a new ASP.
Yeah, I think that was the intent.
Yeah.
That has been the intent all along. I think I'm going to be pretty straightforward here. We don't do things unless they make financial sense.
Yeah.
We're a private enterprise. And when we have delays in getting approvals or moving through a certain process, we start scratching our head and start asking ourselves the question that if we went to a full-fledged ASP amendment, and our intent is at some point in time or was to tie Hawks Landing and Iron Landing
Right.
and turn it into a master plan community. Now, Iron Landing wasn't owned by us and we were not involved in the original ASP, but we're following through what the town had approved, statutory approval. So, we want to look into all of that.
Yeah.
But we also want to feel some sense of ease with council to say, okay, they'll give us the time to work with us on this and allow the process to move through in a smoother fashion, because time is money. We're sitting here in May. We initiated this application last year, sometimes in February, I do believe. And, it's a year later. And that doesn't give us a good feeling, frankly. So the point I'm trying to make is that I'd love to sit down with in an informal session, if that makes any sense, and say, this is what our plan is. We want to create those recreational playing fields and all of that stuff. We've already thought about that. And just to give you a little bit of background, and I don't want to harp on it too much, Airdrie Genesis Center, I was instrumental in getting them $2 million. That's how we got that going.
Yeah.
I was instrumental in getting $5 million to the Genesis Center in Northeast Calgary because we were developing that whole area. So we commit to we've committed here. We're into it, into this town. We're about $20 million in. And we're committed. But we would like, all the help we can get from administration and council, and administration's been fantastic. We've been working away with them to ensure that we can move things in a efficient manner, as long as we satisfy what the guidelines are.
Yeah, and I think that we all want the same thing. And I would say too, it's a learning process a little bit for us. But I also think that we as a town need to ask for a better package up front so that council's better informed. And we may not have as many questions. And I think that moving forward, I think that is something that we're going to need to do, is to set that tone. Like, we need all these things up front before it gets on council's doorstep, so that we can make those good, quick decisions.
No, fair enough.
Yeah.
And to that point, I would request that if we had a screen for a PowerPoint presentation, if that goes a long ways.
I agree.
Because most municipalities we operate in, we give, we provide a presentation, they do a presentation on the screen, we do a presentation. And you can really focus on certain areas rather than printing,
Yeah.
overlaying this stuff. And I don't blame anybody, but I mean, it's not always easy to discern exactly where the connections are and all of that stuff. But I think we can present ourselves a whole lot better.
Yeah.
And build that confidence with council.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that I can speak maybe on behalf of council, but an informal session with us, I think is a good idea. Let's sit down and have that conversation and see what
Yeah.
else that you guys have to present. We want a good relationship with our developers as well. You guys help develop our town and we appreciate that. And we know that it takes a lot of money to put in to development. But we also know that for Crossfield, we don't want Crossfield developments to be Airdries or City of Calgary or Edmonton or those bigger centers. We want it to have that kind of that Crossfield feel. And I think that's what we're trying to relay to you, and however that comes across and comes within your plans. That's something that this council feels strongly about.
No, fair enough. And I think the informal session would be great at defining what Crossfield feel is.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really important for us to understand.
Yeah.
And you folks probably have a good handle on it. I honestly don't. And our intent always is when we get into an area is to do what we call them. It's not just a buzzword, but a master plan community. What does that really mean? It means interconnectivity, pedestrian friendly pathways, recreational amenities. And in this situation, within our land holdings, you're going to have a couple, 3 lakes, which are interconnected. And we may bring some elements that we did in Airdrie quite successfully, i.e. the canals. We built all those out. Bayside canals, Bayside. So we do some and really turn it into an attractive community.
Yeah.
Which has got a mixture of larger homes, mid-sized homes, smaller homes, and different kinds of product.
Yeah.
That's where our mind's at. So we'd love to have that informal session.
Excellent. You can arrange that through Merrill. And I don't know, Gobi, timelines, whatever your timelines are, let us know. Just give us a couple weeks notice.
Yeah, I think I'm not going on any trip in the near term, but I think once we get moving with this application, we can definitely find some time, depending on your schedules as well. Maybe it's a month and a half, whatever, and do an informal session. So because we were going to start working on it, but we backed off.
Yeah.
Frankly,
Yeah.
because we said we've got to get this behind us and then go and revisit, because we are also working with an ASP that was done
It was
years ago.
too long ago, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are some questions, and to be sorted out with respect to the connection with Veterans Park, that particular area. And we've got some great ideas for that we can bring forth for discussion.
Great. I'm looking forward to that meeting then. Thank you.
Yeah, we are too.
Good. That's excellent. All right. Any further questions? Okay. Can I get a motion?
Here, if I may,
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll move that subdivision application 2022-900-100 S1 Total Geomatics on behalf of Creation Communities for the subdivision of 53 R1B lots, 16 R1C lots, 49 R3 lots, and 5 municipal and international district lots be approved with the outlined conditions.
Okay, all in favor? That's motion carried. Thanks for presenting and thanks for the opportunity to meet with you in the future.
Well, thank you. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, we have another delegation, item 4.2, Reality Bites. So Ashley, John,
Oliver.
Oliver. Great.
Good evening, Your Worship, sirs, ma'ams, ladies and gentlemen. Introduction of myself. I'm Oliver, the Chief Operating Officer here at Reality Bites. You've already met John, Chief Executive Officer, and Ashley, our Technical Advisor. I want to say thank you for your time this evening, and thank you for your assistance in the past year. I know we've done a lot of work for your IT support system, and we have been basically rebuilding your infrastructure, your servers, and everything almost from the ground up. Thank you for your patience in that. I know you all got sent out some information last week, and we are here and happy to field any and all questions pertaining to that. Thank you.
Great. Questions from council?
Through the chair.
Go ahead, Councillor Fox.
What's with this chair tonight? I have a question. What can we do about the aspect of the town's phone lines going down consistently? It's a government office. Why do they not have a direct line to, sorry for naming names, either TELUS or Shaw? Why are they in a system that it can crash at any time? Suggestions?
So the system that you're currently operating, it is a direct line system through Shaw. The phone server is tied directly to that. It's at the fire hall currently. That is the process in place. There has been a number of issues over the last year with the phone system going down. Generally, they've been related to like a hardware or software issue in the phone server, but that for the most part now has been upgraded to current standards. When we inherited it, it was many versions behind and essentially had not been maintained at all. So we had to bring it forward a number of versions, and that required quite a bit of back and forth with the vendor for the software.
So why not just split it up? Why does it have to run through the fire hall? Why can't the town office be self-sufficient, the fire hall be self-sufficient? Wouldn't that make more sense? Because we had a power surge and it knocked the phone lines out. Stuff like that shouldn't be happening.
No, it shouldn't. The reality of it is we have to get the entire town's network, not just the telephone system, but the entire communication network for the town infrastructure has been in quite a poor state. So we really, everything needs to be adjusted to make it up to proper standards. Without getting into very technical details, it was essentially set up in a way that it was essentially unmanageable when we took it on. So we've done a number of steps to resolve that over the last year, but it is a live production environment, so you can't just rip everything apart and start rebuilding in the middle of a working day.
So just to clarify, when you say entire town, that just means town-owned facilities.
Yes, correct. That'd be like public works, the water infrastructure, and fire hall, the town hall location, this building, all of that set up.
I guess I'm just old school. Like at my house, my phone plugs into the wall. It's direct, right? So that's where I'm probably just not getting the tech aspect of it, why it can't be that simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like your traditional copper phone line is, for the most part, a thing of the past now. They're really being phased out in any fashion. There's a number of different digital phone line options that are available, but it needed to be brought up to current standards. Now that it's there, we don't foresee it being an ongoing issue moving forward.
Okay.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Councillor Knight.
Thanks, Sean and team. I know this was a pretty challenging place to get into. I guess I struggle a bit with Councillor Fox's comments. the box we had was old. It was junk. Was there a reason we just didn't shift to hosted? Because we spent a bunch of money on something we should have just walked away from, to be honest.
I mean, it was an option, but I think perhaps there's a bit of a misunderstanding on what was spent. There wasn't a large cost to bringing things up to current standard.
So there wasn't $7,000 of labor brought into say 40 hours?
No, that was two separate projects to build under a single phase. So there's in total on the phone upgrades was a $1,400 software license. And then in total, the labor bill for that project was $2,500.
Because it reads in the report like it's $7,000.
Yeah, so about 60% of that is software licensing on the servers unrelated to the phone system. There was no licensing in place for Windows Server. It was just installed but not licensed.
But that still comes into the phone system to operate, correct?
No, unrelated, like completely different server.
So just in the wrong table format then when it was in the report here then? Yeah, no, that's
Yeah,
because
it was the work was done at the same time. So we had proposed it as, this is the project to do the phone system upgrade and the licensing and server upgrade. But the server upgrade isn't the phone server.
That's way better. Because when I look at that, I look at it.
Yeah, when we costed it out, so if you take into the fact of the cost you're paying for the current Shaw SIP trunks and the licensing, it works out to just under $300 a month that you would be over the course of a year, which is still less than the cost of going to any sort of a hosted solution. And really for us, we need to get what's here into a working fashion now as fast as possible. And then now that it's to a standard where we can actually manage it, then if you want to go to a hosted solution or look at something alternative, you're not locked into anything.
It wouldn't be a want. I was just doing the math on spending money, because I feel like when we don't have the people that necessarily have all the skills, we rely on you guys a lot. But there almost needs to be two information sessions back, like one of, hey, this is how much it would be to continue on the path of this, or we could pivot here, Shaw Smart Voice, Cloud, all the rest of those options. So no, that makes me feel better, because when I looked at it from 7,000, that's pretty much 2 years of a hosted phone solution that we could have just went to. So that's good.
Yeah.
When I look at the uncontracted rate of 140 an hour on the 869 for hours, is there a reason it's an uncontracted rate?
Your rate is $100 per hour for any time that's not contracted.
It's just in the report right here.
Yeah, so as it says there, the uncontracted rate is the rate that someone who isn't under contract with us, you guys are under contract. We base our calculations off what it would cost someone who wasn't under contract. You guys are. So as it says there, 869 hours is how much labor you guys have used, which for an uncontracted customer at $140 an hour would be the 121,600. However, what you pay in terms of your contract isn't that.
That'd be really hard to read and understand. It's all I can maybe make a recommendation from reading going forward. Because okay. So when we look at the hours, we can probably, because you did a really awesome job of forecasting all the hours you've been through. We probably can estimate that we're probably in that 40 to 60 hour range because you now brought us down from being in chaos to well organized. We see ourselves in good world. So I do appreciate that. So there's nothing more where you can kind of see where the trends are coming down. You're pretty confident the trend should stay down. We're under control now.
Yes. If you look at the time trend report that was provided, you can see it's tailing down in the proper direction, but it definitely was a large amount of hours for a number of months since this time last year, essentially.
No, I appreciate all your time. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
It's been really satisfying for us to be able to assist you guys in this manner and to really bring some order to a lot of the chaos that was occurring, to implement more efficient systems that help you guys find financial efficiencies. For instance, in your licensing costs, we're saving you guys like $3,200 year on year in licenses that were present but not being used. Anyone.
That's one thing actually, you mentioned it here. Going for, it'd be nice to see in that cost savings tab right there,
Mhm.
where it says significant. Like put a number in there, because those are pretty meaningful things to the residents and all their assets up, whether it's 20, 40, 50. Because people could look at this and go, we could hire a full-time IT guy for 70 grand. That's not everything getting wrapped around and encompassed. So things like that, when that report comes in, it'd be good to say, hey, this is what we estimate cost savings.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
If you want to figure on your cost savings, your contract to MSP alone for us cost you $41,126.40. It would have cost you $121,600 in labor alone. That's no licensing, no server work.
Yeah, go ahead.
Through the chair. I'm kind of along the same lines, but now we've got to this point here. What is, what do you foresee? Like, and I don't want you to hold yourself to it, but a servicing, a going forward servicing kind of plan. What does it look like? Is it going to look like that? That where we've dropped down in hours to, is that kind of where we're going to see it going forward for the next couple of years, now that we've got ourselves back in order? That
We've really are close to a point where things are where we would like to see them. There's still a few core network changes that need to be fully fleshed out with Public Works and a few other of the buildings where we can separate them out into their own networks. But aside from that, those costs are already they're already essentially paid for from your standpoint. So these more now as just things that we're planning and implementing behind the scenes so as to not cause any problems for the administration or people to be able to utilize the system.
Okay.
But there's not any major fires to put out at this point. And I think we've been able to pinpoint everything and get everything addressed. And we've got a good plan moving forward for like a replacement strategy on desktops and laptops, just so that we have a decent life cycle management on them. But for the most part, no, there's no all the big stuff I think has now finally been handled or planned.
Okay.
Just that as well. Just you were talking about doing the amount of hours was name reports. As technology changes, you're going to see an ebb and flow. Windows 10 is going to be having its support ending later on this year. So within the Windows 11. So then you'll see the hours go up a little bit as we do that implementation. Then down, you may see a big related to 11. But as John said, it's going to be largely smooth and significantly more smooth out than it was in the first report of this year.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? No, if there's no other questions, Sue, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Harris. Good evening, council. Just a comment, not a question.
I asked for questions. I'm sorry.
I just want to thank you guys very much. It was a really rocky start last year when we got started, and you guys have brought some saneness to the organization in terms of IT. I just want to let council know that our contract with Reality Bites expires at the end of April. We will be bringing, it was a 1-year contract. Plus we've entered into a 3-year agreement with regard to the computer replacement plan. So that's underway. I'll be bringing forward to council at the next meeting to tie in with our budgeting process and audit a 3-year contract moving forward to keep in line with the MGA. So I think Ashley will be back for that to answer any specific questions you might have technically.
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
And just to go a little bit further on that, when you bring that to council, will there be a kind of a budgetary review on what that you're going to bring forward on what that IT is going to look like?
Yeah, and it's already incorporated into the 2023 budget as preliminary approved, but yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Motion.
I motion the council accept Reality Bites update as information.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're now at item 5.1, appointment of the deputy mayor. So Councillor Fox, if I can get you to stand and read the oath.
Can you hear me? I, Joanne Fox, do solemnly declare as deputy mayor for the town of Crossville that I shall perform the duties of the office of deputy mayor faithfully and with integrity. Abide by the statutes, bylaws, and policies that govern the town and promote openness, accountability, and responsible leadership. Provide stewardship of the public assets through the development and evaluation of the town's policies and programs, and always consider the well-being and interests of the community as a whole, leading the development of a safe, vibrant, sustainable town.
Okay, can I get a motion? Oh, that's me. Motion to appoint the deputy mayor, that Councillor Joanne Fox be appointed as deputy mayor for a 6-month term. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, item 5.2, Crutchfield Municipal Library Board Member.
That's me. As council knows, the town of Crossfield has a municipal library board bylaw 2019-19. As defined under the Libraries Act. As part 1 of the Libraries Act, any board vacancies shall be forwarded to council for review and ratification and appointment. Under appointment, a board member is a trustee governing the delivery of public library service in the community, making decisions that are in the best interest of the public and providing quality municipal service. Library service. Administration has received a request from the Crossfield Municipal Library to appoint Melissa Leach as a library board trustee for a 3-year term, and administration recommends that council appoint Melissa Leach as a library board trustee for a 3-year term expiring March 31st, 2026.
Yeah, so thanks. Any questions for Lindsay?
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
It's not maybe a question, it's just more of a comment. I don't know if it's regular procedure that we have the person here when we appoint at all, joint council. I know it's not a big deal, but it's just, I guess, if we had any questions for the person, and just I don't know, I just don't see a lot of information on her, just that little blurb. But that's about it. That was my only comment.
Okay, just a comment for me. It's nice that somebody's volunteering. They've only moved here in October 2021. They want to get involved in the community. So I see that she does have some previous board experience and some value to the community. So I just appreciate when somebody wants to step up and volunteer for a board position. So if there's no further comments or questions, can I get a motion?
For sure. I move that council appoint Melissa Leach as library board trustee for a 3-year term expiring March 31st, 2026.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, MPC board member, item 5.3.
Thank you, Mayor Harris. The Crossfield Municipal Planning Commission has an opening for board members. The current bylaw outlines that the membership shall be comprised of 7 members. Recently, the town received an application from a member of the community to join the Municipal Planning Commission. MPC meets to review applications of development when there is opposition received through routine circulation processes or when the development department defers an application. There are not many instances when meetings are required, but the town has been afforded with a great collection of community-minded members to review applications when needed. It is felt that with Jared's outlined experience, he will be a welcome addition to the committee. Should council motion to appoint Jared Roy to the Municipal Planning Commission, then the town will have a total of 6 members, including Councillor Lambert. Further, upon review, an additional motion is required to renew the existing members' appointments to the board as they have passed their 4-year term. So there's a recommendation before you that council motion to appoint Jared Roy to the Municipal Planning Commission and that council renew the existing members' appointments being Alex Penner, Darlene Hare, Carmen Cornelius, and John Godley for a further 4-year term.
Thanks, Meryl. How many meetings a year is it?
It varies. Last year we had 2, I believe.
And what triggers a meeting?
Typically opposition when we do the circulation. So if there's adjacent landowner opposition, we defer it to the Municipal Planning Commission.
Do you think there's merit in that planning commission looking at all the applications?
There would be many, but the way the land use bylaw is written right now, we do have the authority to approve or deny applications. But if there's ever something controversial, we would defer it to the Municipal Planning Commission.
Yeah, but my question was, would there be merit in them looking at all the applications?
If council feels that, but the land use bylaw prescribes the development department gives us the authority to approve applications, but if council wishes to make that change.
Okay, thanks. I'm just curious like, how that worked and how many. Any questions for Meryl? No. Okay, if there's no questions, can I get a motion?
I motion the council appoint Jared Roy to the Municipal Planning Commission and that council renew the existing Municipal Planning Commission's members' appointments being Alex Petter, Carolyn Hare, Carolyn Curlingless, John Godley for a further 4th-year term.
Hey, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, item 5.4, National Public Works Week proclamation. Any questions on that one? Anything further? We're good. All right. Then I will proclaim that council declare May 21st to 27th as National Public Works Week in Crossfield. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. And 5.5, 2023 spring rec funding.
To the chair. I'm going to remove myself due to conflict of interest.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Harris. So on Monday, March 27th, the Crossfield Recreation Board met to review 2023 spring funding grant applications from various community groups. Attached to this report is the recommended motions made by the board. They're there for your review. I believe the total granted out was just over $31,000.
Okay, questions for Russ? Counselor Gustafson.
I didn't even raise my hand.
I saw your face.
It's on my face. I think the rec board is doing great things and making great decisions. My only concern is, I see one group just getting a larger portion of it, and that it was only due to the capital funds there, and I'm not sure. Do we have any policies or any guidelines on when we talk about giving more than one grant to, spread the wealth out? I'll let you answer that. I got one more little thing.
Sure.
For you.
So currently, I don't believe it's not a bylaw policy. Stipulates anything around that.
Okay.
But I will say that policy is going to be reviewed.
Okay.
And I am going to be adding in, and Mayor Harris, you had a conversation with Seattle Keenan about this. But I think this is a good place to put it. It was within our recreation board policy is to create additional guidelines on how the board doles out funds and approves applications. So
okay,
adding criteria to that and trying to take away any sort of biases that may take place.
And I think that is perfect, Russ. Like just to take any subjectivity out of it, and it's just the facts are the facts, and we just hear the guidelines, and if they meet the guidelines, here's the money.
We want to
use it
avoid that.
Absolutely, I 100% agree with you. I'm glad that we're going to go down that road. And just for, I guess, everybody's knowledge here, half of this gets funded by half of the money comes from Rocky View and half of it comes from the town, so 30K each. So you have a pool of money for 60 for the entire year.
Correct.
And
And
then,
there's two funding periods. So they do one in the springtime and then one in the fall as well.
that's more for, everybody else that isn't here tonight that knows
Yeah.
about what the rec board does.
Yeah, and community groups can make application to the rec board. Anything over $3,000, they have to present in person.
Yeah.
Anything under $3,000 is just reviewed by the board.
Awesome. And that's, I guess, all I had. When it comes to, and I don't want to dwell on this a bunch because I know we got lots of things to do here tonight, but just when it comes to capital stuff and then, with town-owned land, that's where we should be looking, I guess, maybe it's some policy behind that and how we deal with that possibly when we're giving out to a group to make capital improvements to town-owned lands. That's all. It's just more of a comment. That's all.
Yeah. Excellent.
Excellent. Any questions?
To the chair,
Go ahead.
is it typical, Russ, for two groups to apply and get zero back? Were they like not willing to change their request or anything like that? Like, I typically don't see two groups reply and then come back with zero.
Well, to be honest with you, the curling club application, I can see, from what I understand, the rec board wanted to see more information on future planning, as well as making sure that the funds go more directly to recreation related things. The skating club one actually perplexes me a little bit. I don't know all the reasons behind that. And I'm not sure if any of the counselors who sit on that board have any input on
Yeah,
that.
so kind of the same thing with them. They talked about having 90 people or 90 skaters, but they can only show that they have 45. And they said in the future, we want to get 90. And part of the reason for that too was the rest of those participants, they were reaching out to other communities to get those participants. The rec board wasn't sure if that was something that they wanted to fund.
I'm sorry, who was reaching out to other communities?
Skating club
To bring other.
to bring
skaters in?
other skaters here and
Because when I looked at their application, they had 4 from.
yeah, from outside. So the majority were, but
Yeah.
they were looking at getting way more than that.
Okay.
So the rec board wanted again to see a better plan in place. What is your plan? Where are you attracting these people from? And it doesn't mean that they're not going to get any funding, but we have asked them to come back. And there's all the fall funding that they can apply for.
Okay.
So I wouldn't say it's a definite no, but it's like come back with more of your story from the presentation that they gave.
Okay, just.
Yeah.
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
I just have one last question. Is there a limit on how much we give to any certain? Like, could we, if there's a big need for one group that needs, 30 grand, can we approve that?
Again, I believe that it's not stipulated within the policy.
Yeah.
It would be up to the board to kind of make an objective decision on how they would want to see that go. Obviously, if you've got 10 groups looking for money,
Yeah.
you kind of want to look at spreading that out. But if you only have one and there's they're asking for $20,000 and you see merit in it,
Yeah.
then, but again, the policy being updated we're going to try and stipulate some more guidelines that can be followed.
And I know that there's merit to actually making a judgment call when you just said, hey, if there's only one group that's going to ask for 20K or 30K, why not? If nobody else is asking for money, which probably never happens, but.
And typically they do also try to keep it as 30,000 in the spring, 30,000 in
Yeah.
the fall to spread it throughout the year as well, because there's different groups that are going to ask at different times.
Absolutely.
That's right, because they can apply throughout the year.
Yeah.
But we
And
just
yes,
have the
the-
2 intakes,
The
right?
board will
Yeah.
also, if a group comes at an off time and the board sees merit in that application, they can also see that application or that presentation as well
Yep.
throughout the
Yeah.
year.
So just a last comment for me. I appreciate you guys looking into the policy and creating some guidelines. So there's more consistency. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
That's going to be fantastic. It'll make it a lot easier
I think so.
for the rec board. Okay. Do we make the motion or do we call Councillor Fox in and then make the motion?
Is her organization receiving funding?
Yeah.
Then you make the motion.
Okay.
And then call her in after.
Thank you. Okay. So if there's no further questions, can I get a motion?
Sure. I move that council approve the 2023 funding allocation recommendations from the Crossfield Recreation Board.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. We didn't forget you this time. We did forget her at the rec board meeting, just saying.
Yeah.
Excellent. Item 6.1, offsite levy bylaw.
5.8, green shirt.
Oh, I forgot my own thing.
And 5.7 too.
Thank you. 5.7, retroactive RCMP costs. Lindsay,
Russ.
Russ.
And sorry, I see a 5.6 that we,
I've got 5.7.
You've done
I got two 5.5s.
I got 5.7.
I got a 3.
What are we on?
5.5.
Okay.
Hang on.
Town-owned lands discussion on future use.
That should be 5.6.
That's 5.
Yeah. Town-owned lands discussion on future use. And I'm going to pass it over to Councillor Gustafson to chat about that.
I know we've kind of put it on the back burner. Thanks, everybody, for taking the time to listen to what I have to say on this. We've had this discussion before. We've got a great list. We know what things are worth. And I think going forward, I know there's still some other things that we need to work on. They're probably more important than this, but we still have to keep this kind of more up on the list to know what we're doing with some good town assets and maybe that, we can put them to good use or, have a plan for them going forward. So we do have, and correct me if I'm wrong, Meryl or Lindsay or Sue, that we do have the current list and values and what they're used for. Yeah, I don't know if we need to circulate that again or anything like that. Non-operational lots, and when I mean that, like, vacant lots, possible, we can maybe come up with some ideas what to do with them for either, recreation or disposal, or, any other uses, if we can come up with some ideas. And even I had a conversation with Mayor Harris the other day about maybe even town-led development of some lots, and this is more of the old Baptist church site and where the water treatment site was, and maybe that's something. I'm not sure if the town wants to take that on, but as a developer themselves, I don't know what's all involved in that. That might be too much heavy lifting for what we got right now. And then just come up with a really good plan going forward when we have land or lots that just been sitting there and not doing anything. And if we could dispose of it, get some cash, get some development in there, collect some taxes, that all goes to the bottom line. So that's kind of what I've thought about over the last couple of weeks on town property, that what we should be doing. So I don't know if this requires a subcommittee that maybe to get some traction here. Maybe is it right away, or is it something that we do after the summer?
Well, I think fair enough, we have to give some staff, they have a lot on their plate, but we have to give them some time.
Yep.
And I actually think this is something maybe that the new CAO should be involved in as well. So if we put a timeline on it of just of a start date to start conversations, maybe in the fall. If that would be fair to you and to staff.
Yeah, and I think, all of council, could possibly chime in on a start date, but I agree with you, Mayor, on starting, probably let's, talk about, the start of our school year, something like that, September-ish. And then, we could think about that and possibly create a subcommittee for, with a couple of 3 counselors, or it could be all of council. Maybe we all want to be involved in that. I'm not sure how that is designed, but maybe that could be an organizational discussion that we have with council. So
yeah, for sure.
And certainly with input from administration on what they'd like to see from us on comments, and because we're the guys out there talking, that's our job, is to talk to the stakeholders, which are our ratepayers, that hey, maybe this is what we'd like to see there. So I don't know, but we definitely need to start somewhere. So if we could start in that September area, would be a goal that I'd like to achieve.
Right, but I would like to give maybe administration a little more direction than that. We have right now, we have the land, that all the lands charted out and what the value is, and I'm just curious if staff can just kind of start thinking about what the plan could look like, and have some options to present, like to when council is brought in for some of those conversations in the fall. I think that it would be a mistake if we just started with nothing and started from scratch. I think that would stall a lot of the conversations. So just to have the ducks in a row and be ready for meeting with council in September and going through the process. So what would that process for staff look like? If that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm good with
Good.
that. Yeah, absolutely. I'm good with that.
Excellent. Any questions or further discussion from council?
So Sue, would we need a motion to give direction for something like that? I don't think we do.
No.
Do we? No.
No. Any questions from staff?
What I can do is I can send, if council wishes, I have a list already done. I can send it out to you so you guys are aware of the lands. Like, it's every piece of land that the town owns. So it
Yes,
could be
please.
a small little piece of land. So you're looking at every piece of land you want an option for. Okay. And
With the understanding that there's probably some small pieces of land that
you're not going to be able to do
Right.
anything with, or it already has a purpose and there's already a green space along
Right.
the highway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Lindsay, do you have a map? Like, you have a map with that, or?
No, it's just in an Excel spreadsheet, but we could combine it with the map. It's just, there are a lot of mini little pieces of property that
Yeah.
you're not gonna be able to do anything with. So, but yeah. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
had our meeting in the boardroom, because we have the.
I'm excited about this. I think this is the right move.
So when you say a small little piece of land, like how would we come about having a little piece of land? Is it just because of a development that happened and it just kind of got forgot about, or just?
It
this
could
and
be a
that?
combination of everything. For example, at the end of Murdoch there and Limit Avenue, where the alleyway comes along the lodge there and the pathway joins in where there's the green space. That actually used to be the old entrance into town. So through development and that,
Okay.
it's a green space now, but there's one section that kind of runs along Limit Avenue, which is just a sliver of land,
Yeah,
but we can't do anything with it.
Yeah.
It's a boulevard.
it's just a
Yeah.
boulevard. Yeah.
It's just the way it's been developed and subdivided. So
So since we're kind of on the subject of lands, if I may, Mayor, is we still have that little piece of the golf course, right? that is not been annexed.
Yep.
What are we doing? What's the plan there?
We have had meetings with Rocky View County and representatives from the golf course board. Lyndon has indicated to both municipalities that they're not in any rush. They're looking at that development in about 3 years.
Okay.
The cost, we did talk about the cost to annex, which is over $100,000. So we've come up with some ideas that the golf course is interested in exploring more, which is basically a partnership tied to the SP.
Intermunicipal development plan.
Okay, yeah, okay.
So we've had those discussions and meetings already.
It's just unfortunate, it's just cost prohibitive to bring it into our fold.
At this point, definitely
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else on that? We good?
That's it.
Excellent. Here you go.
Thank you for your time. Thanks for that.
Okay, and that was 5.6, 5.7. Retroactive RCMP.
Thank you, Mayor Harris. And first off, just wanted to apologize for the late addition of this, but the information came to us late, so we just wanted to make sure that you do get the information as soon as possible. So on March 31st, administration received a communication from the Federation of Canadian Municipalities informing us that the federal government will not be absorbing retroactive costs associated with the latest RCMP collective bargaining agreement, with retroactive pay going back to 2017. Administration is extremely disappointed in the federal government's decision on this and wanted to ensure council is made aware because this cost will be downloaded onto municipalities. We do not have an estimate on how much it will cost the town of Crossfield specifically, or if it may even affect the town of Crossfield. But however, for reference, there are some estimates for other municipalities shared in a statement that FCM issued last week, which is attached to this report. FCM has provided a draft press release and a draft resolution that can be used by municipalities opposing this decision. They're also attached to this report. FCM provided the following statement within their communication. FCM recognizes the impact and scale of this decision on municipal finances, all the more at a time of inflation and financial uncertainty for Canadians. Administration recommends that council adopt the resolution opposing the federal government's decision to pass these costs on to municipalities and calling on the federal government to include local government in discussions and negotiations related to policing costs. Administration is also seeking council's thoughts on issuing the attached press release.
Okay, have we received a notification from RCMP and federal government as to what our portion is for Crossfield?
Not yet.
Because I know that Mountain View County has, Airdrie has, a lot of our surrounding communities have already.
I know I have a meeting tomorrow with the RCMP and they might be hand delivering it at that time.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure.
I'm not sure, do we want a hand delivery?
No,
Do
we just,
we don't want it at all.
we just try to ignore it?
Yeah, right. Okay, so we don't know what the cost is yet. Okay, and we don't know how long we have to pay that portion back. I think it may be up to 2 years is what we have. But I think we may have to negotiate that with them.
Yeah. I'm guessing half.
Go ahead.
I wasn't going to say anything, but this just rots my socks, so I'm going to say it anyway. I guess the thing is that we've been promised for 5 years that there will be no increases in
Yeah.
policing costs, and bam, the federal government dumps this bomb on all the municipalities across Canada. Municipalities had no input into the discussion with the formation of the union and
Yeah.
how that was going to be handled. And I think more importantly, and I think what's really kind of sticking in my mind is that municipalities are not recognized under the Canadian Constitution. So what prevents municipalities from saying, we had no input into this, we're not paying it?
I was gonna ask that. Like,
Mhm.
And I think that, for 5 years, we've been told no increases, no increases, no increases, and we're paying a lot more for policing than we ever had.
Yeah.
Maybe there needs to be a movement, and maybe it needs to start in Alberta, where we say we're not paying it.
We all
The federal
refuse.
government made the deal, you pay it.
Yeah. And I think that will be all part of our letter.
Yeah.
That will be drafted, right?
So is this maybe something that we need to have a conversation with, sorry, through the chair, through AM on this is, they should probably be taking the lead on this if they feel the same way. I would imagine they feel the same way because we had the discussion already with them on this.
The last 2 years.
Correct, absolutely. So,
And the other thing about this whole situation, I find it quite ironic that the province has been very silent on this item. And I think that we perhaps need to have another conversation with our MLA Nathan Cooper and saying, what are you guys going to do as a province with respect to this downloading now? It's bad enough we're getting downloaded by the province. Now we're getting downloaded by the feds. When's it going to stop?
Yeah.
to be honest, I think we need to go to both levels, not just to Nathan, but I think we need to go, the MP
I'm gonna
level.
talk to Blake.
We need to talk to Blake. as well,
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah, I'll phone him.
So are we waiting then until we get our number?
Well, we have to wait until we get the information. We have to know what our number is, the timeline, and what that direction is before we can do anything. But in the meantime, I think we can make the motion to write a letter, and a fairly strongly worded letter to the feds and RCMP.
This is a prime classical case of the failure of transparency in government.
Yeah.
No, they keep getting away with it.
Well, maybe it's time it stopped. Somehow,
Well,
we controlled it.
we can only hope. Like, it's definitely disappointing. So you need a motion on that one?
I'll make a motion that we direct administration to create or draft a letter with regards to the decision by the federal government not to carry the costs of the RCMP.
Retroactive.
What do we get? Retroactive pay. That should be good enough, I think.
I think that should be it. All right.
And being downloaded onto the municipalities of Alberta, Saskatchewan, throughout the country.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thanks, Russ. Okay, item 5.8. Go ahead. Item 5.8. Proclamation Green Shirt Day. That was our addition, so I'd like to move that April 7th, 2023 is proclaimed Green Shirt Day to honor, remember, and recognize all the victims and families of the fatal crash, and to continue Logan's legacy by inspiring Canadians to talk to their families and register as organ donors. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. I'll send that to you.
Thank you. I'm sorry, was that 5.8?
Yeah.
We needed to do 5.7.
5.7 is retroactive RCMP costs.
Okay.
We did that one.
Okay.
Justin just did it.
It just didn't make sense to what was in here. That's why I was asking. Okay.
Okay, item 6.1, offsite levy bylaw. Merrill.
Thank you, Mayor Harris. So as you know, the current offsite levy bylaw dates back to 2010. Review of this bylaw was needed to first update the outdated document and further to ensure that industry costs for development are comparable to today's pricing and that levies collected from new development will support future infrastructure requirements. At the March 7th council motion to give the offsite levy bylaw first reading and to hold 2 open houses being on March 16th and 23rd. The 2 open houses brought a total of 2 people in attendance, one being a staff member and the second being Clark Piota from Dream Developments. No concerns were received and a letter of support from Dream has been attached for council's review. So administration's recommendation is following the open houses, review of feedback, incorporating changes and how it will impact future development, Staff and MPE feel that the document has reflected the relevant levies to be considered as development progresses within the community. And this is where I have an apology. When council originally gave the offsite levy bylaw first reading, we gave out the wrong bylaw number. And therefore administration is asking for the first motion for bylaw 2023-08 be rescinded so that all three readings for the offsite levy bylaw are given with the right bylaw number, being 2023-03. We apologize for this error.
Thanks, Meryl.
No problem.
Any questions for Meryl? And the hard ones for Derek, I'm just saying.
Thank you. Oh, yeah.
Okay, if there are no questions or further discussion, can I get a motion?
Mayor, if I may, I'll make the motion to motion 073-2023 being first reading of offsite levy bylaw 2023-08 be rescinded due to the bylaw numbering error.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Next motion.
The motion that bylaw 2023-03 being the offsite levy be given first reading.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. The next motion.
Through the chair,
Can you do that?
I make the motion that the bylaw 2023-03 being of the offsite levy be given second reading.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Moving right along, next motion.
I make a motion that bylaw 2023-03 being offsite levy be brought forward for third and final reading with unanimous consent.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. And the final one. I'll make the motion. I'll make the motion that bylaw 2023-03 being the offsite levy be given third and final reading. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, on to policies, item 7.1, snow and sidewalk clearing.
Thank you, Mayor Harris. So this is both Russ and I, both of our departments have met to discuss this bylaw. So I'll just go through our report. So the background is the current road and sidewalk snow clearing and removal policy was adopted in 2019. Since that time, following the Railway Street revitalization and reviewing the current policy, operations staff have revisited the policy to ensure the best service continues for the community while considering the resources at hand. Currently, the operations department consists of 5 employees. The water and wastewater department consists of 2 employees, and the parks department has 1 employee during the winter months. When a weather event takes place, it's an all hands on deck situation. All available staff within these 3 departments partake in snow clearing and removal efforts. We've given a listing of the equipment that's available to us for council's consideration. When equipment fails, the operation department contracts the services and equipment of a grader operator to perform and to participate in clearing and removal of snow on roadways. Currently, while reviewing the policy, there was recognition that the policy needed realistic service expectations outlined while considering the operations, water, wastewater, parks, equipment available, and staff on hand. Within the policy, the areas of suggested amendments have been highlighted in red. Did you want me to go through the summary of amendments?
No, I think that we've all read them. Yeah.
Okay. So the recommendation would be that the operation and parks recognize that snow and ice control is one of the town's core areas of responsibility. However, available staffing and equipment play a big part in our success each day. By amending the policy as highlighted will allow the town to provide realistic delivery of services for the demands that are faced while keeping employee safety at the forefront.
Okay, questions for Merrill or Russ? Counselor Brennan?
Through the chair. I was just curious on on a wording thing.
Okay.
Priority 2, page 5, or I guess in the document here, it's in the agenda, it's page 259. I just was curious, what are compassionate reasons? I've just never heard that used before.
So compassionate reasons could be for if a family is experiencing a funeral
Mm.
or if there's an injury.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't against her for it, but yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further questions?
The chair,
Yeah, go ahead, Counselor Knight.
just to clarify, clearing commencing, that does give us the ability to maybe do the downtown street earlier than 7 AM, right? Is that the clarification? I don't see nothing in here necessarily that says that we could work during other hours, or is that the clarification of snow clearing will commence when the operation department determines roadways are passable? I don't see anything in terms of time schedule.
So that was added to the document. So when the roadway is passable for town snow clearing process and equipment. So that is when a storm is in progress.
Yeah.
So following a storm.
We could, this document leaves it open for us to do that
Yes,
at any time.
yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any further questions? I appreciate that you guys changed the no parking signs for time period of 24 to 48. I think that's important.
Mhm.
And it could help, I'm hoping, get some cars off the road before you guys get out there, because that seems to be a bit of an issue. Maybe I'm just noticing it more this year, but people aren't out there moving their cars, that's for sure. Okay.
They weren't or they were?
They were not. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, no further questions? Can I get a motion?
All right. Through the chair, I move that council accept the updated road and sidewalk snow clearing and removal policy 2023-01 as presented.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay. Item 7.2, and this is just for discussion to talk about an event policy for town lands. Specifically when it has to do with like alcohol or alcohol-based events, and having some of those things in place just to protect the town. So part of that policy, I mean, could include, you know, what that liability insurance is, making sure that any event has at least a posting for taxi rides, or they provide a bus, or those types of things to, like, from the event at the end of the day. And I guess whatever staff feels should be in that policy as well. And I think this is just a discussion I had with Councillor Gustafson, and we just thought that some of those things could protect the town in a liability way, so that in any of our facilities that we have, we're on town lands, just to be on the safe side.
Thank you, Mayor Harris. And just to update council, we do have a, and I'm sorry, I don't remember the exact name of the document, but we do have a green space request to use green space, basically. So we can update that with additional information around the alcohol. There is stuff in there, I believe, but we can definitely revamp that.
Would that include like even the hall or the
hall,
arena upstairs?
so those two facilities have their own contracts and agreements for renters to use, which include a check or a list of requirements and policies around that facility.
And part of that posting,
Yeah.
like, okay.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
That's good to know.
We could cross-reference all of them to make sure the language is the same.
Mhm.
And I think PAL insurance is still a requirement of people that are utilizing our facilities
Yeah.
for where we're going to serve alcohol, or not we, they are going to serve
Yeah.
alcohol. I think we can double check on that because there's a minimum liability for cost for that.
Yeah.
So I think we'll look at some continuity across all of it.
Oh, that'd be great. Thank you.
Through the chair. So just clarification, I know you have it for the hall, but say it comes to something like the curling rink that now you've got a piece of property that's owned by the town, whether it's the curling rink or even the rodeo grounds. You're relying on another group to do that, or do we have a policy in place that overlaps, that just oversees that? Even though it's like, because it's town-owned land, whether the town runs it or another group runs it, it's still town-owned land, it's still liable.
We'd be third-party liable. Yeah.
Agreed. So that's where we want to cover our, so.
It is
we-
included in the agreement that we would have with that group.
With that group, okay, just fair enough that.
Yeah, it's required within that agreement and
Okay.
stipulated that they have to have the extra insurance and the,
Are we always named additional insured?
yes.
Excellent.
Yeah,
You're supposed to be, you are with
Yeah.
us. Yeah.
so that's, and that was a discussion that we wanted to make sure that we didn't miss, but again, administration was probably a step ahead of council, which is great. Well,
Yeah, we've definitely included that in the agreements and as well as in the contracts for those facilities.
That's perfect.
mhm.
Thank you. Any other questions or feedback on that? Excellent. Thanks, Russ. Okay, on to item 8, mayor and council business. I attended my mayor's meeting here a week ago. And we talked a little bit about fire departments and how other towns similar to us do fire departments, and most of them are moving in the same direction as we are by hiring a full-time chief. They also have a cadet program that is funded by ATCO Gas, which I thought was pretty neat. So I've sent that information over to Russ and Sue so they can just have a look at that. We got some information from the town of Olds, which was good. So that was the main thing we talked about there. We did talk a little bit about some of the Alberta Health Services and hospital. Sundry's looking for a new hospital. They've outgrown theirs. It's fairly old. And so some of the things that can't happen, they have new technology and new machines like the lift machine, but it won't fit through their doorways because the doors were made a little bit smaller. And so they're looking at trying to get a new hospital. So we'll see how that goes for them. We talked a little bit about AHS as well and the ongoing, service that we get from them. And then we also talked about a little bit about the 15-minute cities, but we don't have to worry about that. You can walk anywhere in Crossfield within 15 minutes, I'm sure of it.
We're a 10-minute city.
Right? And we're the 10-minute city. Yeah, that's right. Anyway, that's it for me. Deputy Mayor.
The only new thing I have is I did attend the meeting on March 27th for the rec board, and you've all heard all of the applicants who were there.
Yeah, I guess I was at that. Yeah.
Yes, you were at that too.
Councillor Brennan.
I actually have nothing further to report at this time. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Gustafson.
Well, I have lots of things going on with the Rocky View Foundation. Thanks for asking,
Excellent.
Mayor.
Anytime.
We are in full under renovation construction at the Airdrie Abriel Place Lodge, which is great. A lot of good things are happening there. We just had another meeting last week. We also have, in parallel with Abriel Place, the need for a new lodge in Cochrane is well needed. So we have come up with another subcommittee for the Big Hill Lodge project, which I am been requested to chair that committee. So we do have a meeting tomorrow in Cochrane with the mayor Cochrane and some administration and the rest of the committee members for that, so we can move forward. We also have put out an RFP for architect design, which we got our packages today on the deadline. I think we got 13 packages that I have a late night going through so we can whittle them down. And on Thursday, we will be going and interviewing our shortlist for the architects for the new Cochrane Big Hill Lodge. So that's about it. I mean, there's a lot of work happening all at once here with the Rocky View Foundation, and I am feel very blessed to be on that board. So it's great. A lot of great things happening.
Great, thank you. Councillor Knight,
Nothing further to report.
Councillor Bang.
I have nothing to report.
Great, can I get a motion?
Through the chair, I'll make the motion that the mayor and council updates be accepted as presented.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Item 9.1, CAO update.
Thank you, Mayor Harris. Good evening again, council. I have two quick items and one more in-depth item. The strategic plan review, your quarterly report was in your packages. I've assumed you've read them. I do want to really give kudos to all of the staff. I think when you go through the entire package, you'll see significant strides have been made this past year. And we're on track for some great things in 2023. I'm just really pleased with where we're at with this. So unless council has any specific questions about any specific areas, it's there for your reading pleasure again.
Thank you. Any questions on that one for Sue? Well, we're on that one.
No, it was nice to see lots of boxes checked.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, second item quickly, if everything goes according to plan for the next council meeting, it will be pretty much financial except for one or two items that will be added. It will start with the audit, the final operating budget for 2023, and then the mill rate bylaw for council's consideration. So it could end up being a long one. I will let you know that the senior staff met Monday. That was yesterday, right? Yeah, Monday. And we've gone through the operational budget again. We've tweaked it, we've streamlined it, we've made cuts, we've moved some things around. So it'll come back pretty much a lean, mean budget. So hopefully that will give you a really good idea of where we should be heading when you get into the discussion of the mill rate and the percentage for tax increase. I still don't have really a whole lot to tell you with regard to where the auditors are at. We do know, they just keep saying it's going to be a bit bumpy, but they don't define what bumpy means. So we'll wait and
How
see.
large are those bumps?
Are they moguls? Are they gophers?
I know they've been very pleased with the restructuring and how things have been set up, from the accounts to the reporting to council's involvement to all the security systems in place to ensure that money's not going missing. So from process point of view, I think we're in very good shape. Now we'll just have to wait till we see the bottom line numbers at the end of the day.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the last thing I wanted to just quickly give you an update on is we have now confirmed the fire chief schedule. We're interviewing, we selected shortlisted five, I should say. We'll be interviewing the afternoon of April 14th and part of the day on Monday, April the 17th. We do have a panel. 3 representatives from the fire service are on that panel, besides myself, Russ, and Jamie Coots. So we're looking forward to that process. Other than that, that's my quick update.
Okay, excellent. Just on the finances and the mill rate and all of that kind of good stuff. And I might sound like a broken record, but if we can just ensure that we tell that story to our residents in a really good way, explaining the budget and why there could potentially be an increase once we have everything in place. I just think we should tell that full story and be very clear about it, use our pie charts, and explain why. And that's, I think, really important for us to show our residents.
I think I can say right off
Yeah.
the hop, the biggest concern for the town of Crossfield moving forward is the lack of funding in reserves.
Yeah.
And so what that means is that you're going to be very limited in terms of any capital projects, whether small or big. And for any tax increase, that the majority of what's going to come down the pipe will have to do with that, I'm sure of it.
Yeah. Excellent. Thanks, Sue. Any other comments, questions? If not, can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion that the chief administrative officer's verbal update be accepted as presented.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Item 9.1.1, strat plan quarterly review. We've done that. So we'll just get a motion on that one too.
Sure.
Through the chair,
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll move that the April 2023 strategic plan quarterly update be accepted as presented.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, now on to department director updates.
Thank you, Mayor Harris. I'll just touch on a few things. So we've had a meeting with Urban Systems to discuss the initial area structure plan amendment that has been submitted by Dream Developments. Urban Systems is working on a comprehensive summary of all the comments received from staff reviewing with town departments. Urban Systems will be the lead on this application, and we will provide updates as this progresses. I did hear this evening that likely conversations will strike up again in the fall, just because there are some development timelines that the developer wants to take advantage of with the summer months for phase 4 that's going to be taking place. On Thursday last week, Sue and I met with representatives from Alberta Transportation to discuss the previous meeting that we had with the minister. And from our discussions, we understand that the funding pool for illumination is very small. And we're not sure how much funding will be provided to the town, but we're hoping for a 50-50 split at the very least. The representative, Darren Davidson, he was not very confident, but he said that he would take it back and let us know by the end of April. We also spoke about the speed reduction of 30 kilometers an hour. He does feel that we would be more successful in this avenue. However, the minister does make the final say. And again, we will hear by the end of April as to whether or not the minister will decide. Within the operations department, you know that we're trying to mitigate the flooding that's taking place in town. Our small but mighty team works hard each day to tackle the problem areas. Street sweeping has begun this week, and I'm happy to see that Railway Street is definitely starting to look a little bit better. The town grader is back, was back on the road. The total repair cost fell under what was initially thought at $65,000. The total repair cost came in just under $45,000, and the contracting services came in just under $23,000. Wastewater update. As you know, earlier this month, the town experienced a power surge, which caused the backup generator at the water plant to unexpectedly turn on all the pumps, causing the system to be overpressurized and flush back into the reservoir. This has caused sediment and discoloration in some homes. This has since passed. We had asked affected residents to run their cold water taps in their bathrooms to flush the water lines. We have had technicians at the water plant to troubleshoot the system, and it has been determined that a faulty flow meter sensor caused the system to be overpressurized, and Joe is currently looking at getting the sensor replaced.
Okay, questions? No questions? Okay. No. Next.
Thank you, Mayor Harris. I am just going to touch on a few points in my report to you. On March 30th, myself, CAO Keenan and Eris Latham attended a meeting with Rocky View Schools to discuss and review updates to our reciprocal use agreement. From that meeting, we did discuss the current agreement, and there wasn't actually an addendum and amendment in place that administration wasn't aware of, but was signed by the previous CAO that actually allowed for the town to use the school division, or sorry, the school facilities at no cost. So that was already in place. So we discussed that. That addendum and the old agreement are going to be reworked and put into one new agreement. So, so anyway, that was in place. It's going to continue to be in place. They should have the new agreement back to us within the next couple weeks. We will review it at that time and provide comments back to them, and then bring it forward to council for review. It will also provide us more opportunity and the ability to work and make arrangements with the local schools themselves, so we can make agreements or arrangements with the principals and the administration directly in the schools. So we don't have to go to their head office to kind of try and work around all the stuff. So that will be good. We did provide stats to them on the school's use of our facilities, the arena and the hall, mostly, because we don't have really numbers for our outside facilities, but they do use those as well. And they recognize that they do use our facilities a fair bit. Yeah, way more than we do.
They take advantage for sure.
Yeah. So, and on my end, I'm okay with it as long as it's reciprocated, because we are giving the students an opportunity to do different classes, different types of classes. So, but as long as it's reciprocated and also benefits our programming. And I'm not sure if council's aware of the province is also requiring municipalities and schools to enter into a joint use and planning agreement.
They had a deadline on that too, right?
They did have a deadline. It's been extended to 2025 now.
Okay, good.
We did talk to the school administration about this as well. So this is just an agreement that is in addition to the joint use, that kind of goes into all the planning for future school sites and that sort of stuff, and how the two groups will work together. They have one in place with Airdrie, I believe. I thought I wrote that down. I believe they have one in place currently with Airdrie, and they're currently working on one with Rocky View County. And so we talked to them about that, and they want to, after they have the one with Rocky View County completed, then start working on it with us. And I believe there's Cochrane and Chestermere left to work with as well. So we've asked them to start working on this after they're done with Rocky View County, which they figured was June. They want it to be done by June 15th of this year. So it should be kind of this summer, or probably into the fall when we get started on it. But that way we have two templates to work with, Airdrie and Rocky View County, that we can kind of adapt and make for Crossfield. So that's kind of my long-winded update on that. Parks and facilities, we have hired the person to fill in for Kimber when she's off for maternity leave. His name is Kevin Brinson, and he will be starting, or he did start, sorry, on yesterday, Monday, April 3rd.
I encourage anybody to give him a hard time.
He does bring a wealth of knowledge and experience in parks operations, as he did spend over 30 years with the City of Airdrie's Parks Department. So he should fill in quite well for the year. And just lastly, just a real quick update on the arena project. Simcoe did start the project. They removed the brine and the ammonia from the system. And they were here today, removing some of the equipment off of the west wall that we have to get out of the way in order to start knocking that wall out. And with that, we did find asbestos within that block wall. I can't remember if I updated council on that or not. There was asbestos in vermiculite within the block wall, which is used as an insulation. So we did have a contractor come out. We met with them last Friday. And he took a look, and it should be relatively seamless. They'll build their containment, follow all the OH&S regulations on that. The same company, while they're here, because they're here doing the removal anyway, are going to demo the wall as well and build then the plan is to build a temporary wall that we can move in and out so that we can pull the old plant out, put the wall back in, because there's going to be a time gap there, and then pull it out again to put the new one in. So they're going to do all that at the same time. It just speeds up our timeframes, as well as if they end up finding asbestos somewhere else, they're already here able to deal with it. We don't have to call them back. So yeah, that's what I wanted to touch on.
Excellent. Thanks, Russ. Just on that joint use agreement, it sounds like you're off to a good start and you're nailing some of the points that we want to see in that agreement. I'm just curious if they're willing to revamp their payment schedule. It's confusing for everyone. There's all these add-ons. Are you using a chair, using a table, using a basketball, or using this? I'm going to add 20 cents, or it's just really confusing. And I wonder if they will be able to make it a little more succinct for user groups to be able to know what exactly are they paying.
We also, we did actually, Sue brought that up to them, and that is another thing that we'll be able to work directly with the local principal on. Like, I don't want to pay for a chair. We need to use the chairs. We'd like to be able to use basketballs, volleyball net. So we'll take a look at that schedule when it comes our way. And I mean, if we can throw a suggestion at them that they simplify it a bit, we'll see what they say.
It'd be
about
nice,
it.
like if I'm just wondering if it could be scheduled, like if we're playing a sport in the gym, it costs you this.
And it's including the.
And that includes the equipment and everything, right? Or if you're having like the food market in there, it costs you this, or like something like that. It's just really confusing right now. I don't know if you guys have seen those agreements, but they're
And
very
I've had a
one-sided.
lot of battles over my years with the school division, and when they every now and then they decide to try and charge us when we go over the 12 uses that they say we get, and I go back and I fight and I say, well, you want to go that way, here's what we provide to you,
We can start charging you.
and then they back down.
Yeah,
So
that's right. And we should get more than 12 uses. I'm just saying.
yeah, and so the new agreement will we won't be considered one of those local community groups. We'll be considered the town using their facility.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, good job. I'm looking forward to that one. Excellent. Lindsay.
Thank you, Mayor Harris. We have a new staff member who will be replacing Diane when she retires at the end of July. So Lauren Cuttress started yesterday, and she'll be taking over Diane's position as utility clerk. This past billing, there was 276 utility overdue letters mailed out. And out of that, there was 54 48-hour shutoff notices delivered, and 53 accounts paid. We actually did have one shutoff, and then they ended up paying and then had to reconnect and pay. So it's kind of been an exciting week for the department. In the finance world, Courtney and Amber have been busy working the last 2 weeks with the auditors, gathering all the information for them. They were on site the week of March 20th and continued their work remotely on this past week of March 27th. And for March 1st to the March 31st, the accounts payable was $348,912.18. And that's about it.
I'm wondering, like, how are we making out with the collection of taxes, outstanding taxes?
I know they are working on that, and there has been, I'll double check with Amber, but I know there has been a list sent, like we're going through the whole process for tax arrears and that kind of stuff. So we are going after people And there'll potentially be, there's, I think, 3 properties that are potentially up for tax sale this year. So,
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
yes.
Any questions for Lindsay? No, if not, can I get a motion?
I motion that the department director updates be accepted as presented.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. And, my apologies, just before we go to correspondence, I did want to talk about our meeting with TC Energy and give some updates. Sorry, I missed that when I was doing my update, but I'll do it now. So I think we had a really good progressive meeting with TC Energy last week, just to talk about, where they're at with the project, what have they been doing? Can Crossfield still be included in some of those conversations? And it was very positive. So TC Energy continues to make progress on planning for the proposed Crossfield Hydrogen Hub, with discussion right now centered on utility services, including water and wastewater services. Crossfield will be included in those wastewater service conversations moving forward. The project team are working with Rocky View County, Mountain View County, Carstairs, and Crossfield, as well as other key municipal service providers, including the Mountain View Regional Water Services Commission, to assess current water and wastewater handling capacity. Planning for the project aims to minimize the amount of land disturbance and standalone infrastructure where possible, with TC Energy's preference for this project being collaborative development and shared utility. The project's land representatives are looking at preliminary routing for a water line from Olds, Alberta area to TC Energy's property neighboring Crossfield. We will be engaging landowners to assess routing options prior to confirming a pipeline footprint. And water line routing will take into account existing road allowance availability and following existing or planned rights of way where feasible. The team will be talking to county planning departments in Crossfield in the coming weeks to confirm our options. And the town of Crossfield will be connecting to the project's land team with developers who TC Energy may be able to collaborate with on siting of water pipeline infrastructure in the town near Highway 574. TC Energy will continue to prepare for broad public and business engagement on the project, which is likely to commence late summer 2023, depending on a number of factors, including having sufficient information available to share with interested right holders and stakeholders in support of regulatory permitting. And we had further discussion, or I did with Cole afterwards. We sat and just chatted for about an hour afterwards, not about anything in particular, but one of the conversations was that engagement, and they were thinking about doing a barbecue, and I had just made the suggestion of connecting with already planned events, such as the rodeo, such as the Elks Derby, and the farmers market. So they're heavily considering doing some engagement at those events as well. And the project team plans to make application submissions for various components of the project starting in late Q4 in 2023. So just as an end note, and Sue, if you want to jump in too, I think that the meeting was good. I think it was very positive, and they see Crossfield as a good neighbor. And I think that we will see them working with us on a couple of things anyway.
Cole had indicated that he was very interested in establishing a relationship with our Chamber of Commerce, so we talked about that a little bit. He was going to come to the Chamber AGM on April 26th, but they are tied up in Edmonton that night. So I've connected them via email and phone numbers. So hopefully he'll be connecting with Murdoch in the not too distant future, and the new president, whoever that may be.
Excellent. Thank you, Tony. Overall positive meeting. So sorry, I forgot that during my update. So moving on to item number 10, correspondence. Any questions on the correspondence? Can I get a motion?
I move the information under correspondence be filed for information.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. And that brings us to adjournment.
Make the motion to adjourn.
Upcoming events. Sorry, Luke. I'll try to speak really slow. Right.
You turned your head.
April 4th and 5th, W.G. Murdoch School, Little Shop of Horrors Drama Musical at 6:30 Crossfield Community Center. Tickets are $5 and are available at the door. April 15th, Crossfield Farmers Market, Spring Market, 10 a.m. to 4, Community Center FCSS events. Parent taught playgroup will run every Tuesday from 10:30 to 11:45 at the Crossfield Library, with the last playgroup being held April 4th. Adulting 101 workshops in partnership with Community Links will run from 5:30 to 7 at the Crossfield Municipal Library on the following days: Tuesday, April 25th, Tuesday, May 9th, and Tuesday, May 30th. Now we can adjourn.
Okay, now I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Excellent. Thank you.